So welcome everybody to our speaker series for International Education Week 2017. We've already had a really exciting week that will culminate tomorrow in the We're All Widener Multicultural Fair in the UC Auditorium from 11 to 2. I do hope that you will join us. Tonight, I am pleased to announce Mr. Aman Ali. Aman Ali is an award-winning storyteller in New York City and one of the most popular social media personalities in the Muslim community today. His passionate and animated tales he regularly posts to Facebook continue to go viral by the thousands daily. In 2015, he was named by YouTube as a content creator to watch. And in 2016, he was invited as a guest to Eid al-Fitr at the White House. Aman is also one of the only young American Muslims in the public spotlight today. He's made appearances on dozens of media outlets, such as New York Times, CNN, HBO, BBC, and NPR, to talk about the shenanigans of growing up as a Muslim in America. Aman has performed in 27 countries and in all 50 states to crowds of all ages, cultures, and religions by bringing people together with his heartfelt stories. He was dubbed as one of the top newsmakers of 2010 by CNN for his project 30 Mosques in 30 Days, a 25,000-mile road trip he took to all 50 states in the US with the mission of telling groundbreaking stories of Muslim Americans. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Aman Ali.
We don't know how to be, but hey, we feel infected like we got gangrene. Please don't let anybody try to change me. Me, just me in the middle of a sea full of faces.
A lot of perception of Muslims around the world is we are these two-dimensional characters that just pray all day and we're just uptight and get mad about everything. But I'm like, man, we're dope. We got swag. Like, look at me now. Like, this is like who we are.
And the world that's going on around you while you talk about that is sometimes talking about other stuff.
Right.
Sometimes hateful stuff when it comes to Muslims.
And that's what's interesting because there's a narrative on television that people hate Muslims and Muslims hate other people. And I don't want to downplay these individual cases, but everywhere I travel around the country, even around the world, I find that Muslims live very peacefully, happily, side by side with our peers.
Together we rise, 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 together we rise.
Also, I love how she did her intro. She like performed like she's in high school musical. Like, hello, greetings, Susan. I'm here to present to you, Aman Ali. Anyway, appreciate that intro. I'll tell you guys a little bit about myself. My name is Aman, and I live in New York City. Actually, you guys want to move up? You guys are all like in the back. There's like, you guys want to move up? Uncle Sal, you want to move up? Uncle G, you want to? You guys, the uncles in the back, you guys move? Cool. There we go. Make some new friends. Awesome. You can move too.
And it's here right here.
Is it? All right. I'll pick on you over there. That's fine. I can still see you. Cool. Appreciate it. Give you guys a second. Perfect. So yeah, to tell you about myself. So I live in New York City now, but I originally grew up in Ohio. And where I'm from in Ohio, I was raised by a very small, traditional, Indian, conservative Muslim household. Where we define marriage as strictly between a man and a cousin. And where I went to school, I grew up in Reynoldsburg, Ohio, a small town outside of Columbus. And where I went to school, I was literally the only non-white person in the entire school. So during school plays, I either had to be Squanto the Indian or Martin Luther King. Those are like my only choices. And I played a lot of sports growing up. And other kids, when their parents came to games, like I played baseball, and other kids, their parents would be like, all right, Ryan, you can do it. Daddy loves you. Hooray! My family was more like, I didn't want so bad. Then why you throw like a girl? like, dang, so mean. And when I was younger, I thought my parents were doing that to embarrass me. But I didn't realize until I got older that they were just trying to teach me that I'm on. Always be proud of who you are. Always be proud of your heritage. Always be proud of your culture. Always be proud of your religion. Don't let anyone else make you feel weird or different, anything like that. And I didn't realize they were doing that until I got a little bit older. Like I remember I was in high school and I was on the wrestling team. That's not the funny part. I was on the wrestling team and we went to a wrestling tournament in Marysville, Ohio, a town even smaller than the one that I grew up in. So I go to the tournament and I made it to the semifinals of the tournament. And in the tournament, the person that I had to wrestle was a girl. And I never wrestled a girl before. I grew up with 4 brothers and never fought a girl before. So I didn't know what to do in this situation. And so I was like real confused and like awkward about everything. So I was like, okay, let me just play the Muslim card. Let me just tell her that I'm a Muslim and maybe she'll understand. I can get my way out of this. And so I came up to her and I was like, hi, see, I'm a Muslim man and you're a female, and out of respect for the opposite gender, culturally, this thing might be a little awkward if we were to wrestle. It's not forbidden in my religion, anything like that. Just culturally, out of respect and personal space, I think this might be a little awkward if we were to do this. But again, this is Marysville, Ohio, where I'm saying this. So she goes, oh wow, that's so cool. You're a Muslim? I'm a Sagittarius.
Was she a blonde?
What's that have to do with anything? So what was I gonna say? So my coach doesn't understand. My teammates don't understand. He's like, dude, what's the big deal? Just go ahead and wrestle her. And so I tried to wrestle her, and it was just like too awkward. And so I just went ahead and just let her win the match. Yeah, I let her win the match. But luckily, mom and dad weren't there, because I know if mom and dad saw me lose to a girl, they'd make fun of me for the rest of my life. Unfortunately, I have 4 brothers, and they were all there. And so we're in the car that night, and we're in the car, and I'm just begging them, guys, please, whatever you do, don't tell mom and dad that I just lost to a girl. You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna make fun of me. Please, don't tell them. And my brother's driving, and he's like, man, we would never do that. We're your bros, man. We love you, dude. We got you. Your secret's safe with us. And so the next day, I'm getting ready to go to school, and I'm running late, and I can't find my house keys anywhere. I'm looking all over the house for my house keys, and I'm running late. So I go to my mom. I was like, Mommy, Mom, have you seen my house keys? I'm running late. Where are my house keys? I gotta go to school. I'll never forget this. My mom, at the top of the stairs, goes, Aman, I have your car keys. But if you want them back, you need to wrestle me first. It's a true story. But I love making jokes. I love doing stand-up. I've been doing that for a living for a while. And one of the cool things about laughter is it's a way to just bring people together, especially during these times. And not just a way to bring people from all different walks of life together. I still remember the first joke that I ever made. I was 7 years old, and I was at one of these Islamic camps where it's like you go out in the woods and you learn about Islam. It's not ISIS, I swear. That's a little too hard, that one. But it's like a religious camp. You know, they have like Christian camp and Bible camp and Quran camp. It's an Islamic camp. So I'm at this camp, and inside my cabin, there was just 3 kids. 2 of them were brothers from Pakistan. And the other kid, he was Arab. He was Palestinian. And the reason why I mention where they're from is this. So the Pakistani kids are brothers. Do you have any Indian Pakistani people here? Okay. So y'all can back me up. And so in a lot of Indian and Pakistani culture, the word we use to call our oldest brother is Baijan. You guys have heard that word, right? You guys all say it with me, Baijan? Baijan, right? It's just a word of respect to call your oldest brother. So the younger brother, he talks to his brother and he's like, Baijan, when are we gonna play basketball? Baijan, what time is the lecture tomorrow? Baijan, we're gonna have dinner. Baijan, 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 Baijan. So the Palestinian kid, he's Arab, and they don't have that in this culture. So he's confused. He's like, who's Baijan? I thought your name is Muhammad. Why is your brother calling you Baijan? That doesn't make any sense. And so the Pakistani kids explained that, yes, his name is Muhammad, but in our culture, we just call our oldest brother Baijan. It's just a word of respect. So then the Palestinian kid's even more confused. He's like, but I don't understand. Muhammad is such a beautiful name in Islam. Why do you call him Baijan? Why don't you call him Muhammad? Why do you call him Baijan? Why don't you call him Muhammad? He's like, bro, calm down. His name is Muhammad. We just call him Baijan. He's like, but why would you want to go by any other name but Muhammad? Why do you call him Baijan? Why don't you call him Muhammad? Why do you call him Baijan? Why don't you call him Muhammad? He's like, bro, calm down. It's just a cultural thing. It's just a thing we do in our culture, where we're from. Well, I don't understand. Your culture is stupid. He's like, don't call my culture stupid. You're stupid. And now he's getting really mad. Don't call me stupid. Your culture's stupid and your country's stupid. So now the Pakistani kids get really mad, like, don't call my country stupid. Oh yeah? Well, you're Palestinian. At least we actually have a country. What kind of 7-year-old racist stuff is that? So clearly these kids said something very hateful, racist, and ignorant. And now a fight is about to break out between these kids. So I get in the middle, I'm like, guys, enough, stop it. Can we just let Baijans be Baijans? Some of you guys are like, where's the story going? Like, where is this? What's happening? But yeah, so grew up in Ohio and diehard hoops fan. Live in New York, love, checking out basketball. Any NBA fans? Any NBA fans? A couple people hoops. All right, cool. Do you all remember the basketball player Hakeem Olajuwon? Is that before your time? Remember Hakeem, right? Hakeem Olajuwon was like my guy, bro. Like Muslim or not, he was one of the best players, one of the best centers in the history of the NBA. Won 2 championships with Rockets. Amazing guy. And I remember I was 9 years old, and Muslims, we fast during Ramadan, the Muslim holy month of fasting. So we fast, no food, no water, no drinking, no eating until sunrise to sunset for a month. And so I'm 9 years old, and my mom comes up to me and goes, Aman, okay, you're 9 years old, just give fasting a try. Just try it once with us. I'm like, hold up. Mom, you mean to tell me that I gotta wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go the entire day, no juice boxes, no fruit roll-ups, no Capri Suns, all the way till 9 o'clock at night? No way, I'm out. No thanks. I don't want to do that. And so that night, I'm watching basketball, and the NBA playoffs were on, and they did a story on Hakeem Olajuwon and how he was fasting during the playoffs. And that night, he scored 47 points, grabbed 16 rebounds, blocked 4 shots. I'm like, oh, wake me up tomorrow, I'm fasting. Hakeem was like my guy growing up. And, I become older, become a performer, start traveling, and I got a chance to meet like all these cool people, but I never got a chance to meet Hakeem Olajuwon. And so Hakeem Olajuwon, he lives in Houston, Texas. And I would go to Houston to do shows. And if I had a show on like Friday, I'd like fly to town on like Wednesday, maybe I might run into him or something like that. I was like delusional like that. But this would happen like every single time. Someone would be like, oh man, you did the Friday prayer at that mosque? Oh man, Hakeem did the Friday prayer at the mosque down the street. You just missed him. Or, oh man, you have a show on Saturday and you're leaving after that? Hakeem is doing an event in town on Sunday, man. Every single time this would happen, 17 times, not that I'm keeping track. It would keep happening. It was so frustrating. I kept missing him until recently. My mother and I, we recently performed the Hajj pilgrimage. I don't know if you've seen it on TV. Hajj is this once-in-a-lifetime gathering where there's literally millions of Muslims from all over the world. They come to Mecca and Saudi Arabia for this beautiful pilgrimage and journey. And it's a beautiful celebration of sisterhood and brotherhood, and it's amazing. So I'm there with my mom, and I'm just soaking this all in. There's literally millions of people there. I'm seeing like all these different colors of the rainbow there, and it's awesome. We're all there as one. No class, no rich, no poor, like everybody's just like together. And I'm just like soaking this in, and I'm waiting for my mom to finish praying. She told me to meet her outside. So I'm just waiting for her. And as I'm waiting, I look out of the corner of my eye. It's Hakeem was one. I was like, Allah, answer my prayers. This is awesome. He's standing right there. Hakeem, what is it, Hakeem? And so I was like, I gotta say something. And then I'm thinking like, oh man, he's probably on the spiritual journey. He's probably here to get away from like fans. Probably doesn't want to take any photos or autographs or anything like that. And I was like, I just gotta talk to him. I won't take a picture. I won't like nerd out. I just have to say salams to him. I have to say something. This man means so much to me. And so I walk up to him and he was just standing there on his phone, and I came up to him and he was like really like startled. And I never get nervous, but I got like super like nervous around him. This is like my childhood hero. And so I came up to him. I was like, hi, assalamu alaikum. And I just started crying for like no reason at all. I just wanted to tell you that I grew up in Ohio, and people used to make fun of me for being a Muslim. And I used to be ashamed to be a Muslim, but then I saw you being so proud to be a Muslim, and that made me so proud to be a Muslim. And I don't know if I would have done any of the things in my life if it wasn't for you. And I know this sounds crazy, coming from a total stranger. I'll leave you alone, but I just needed to tell you that I love you. Thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you so much. He's putting my head on my shoulder as I'm crying. And that's when I realized it wasn't Hakeem Olajuwon. It was just a really tall Nigerian guy. It's also a true story. So yeah, I moved to New York a couple years ago. Actually, more than a couple years ago. I've been there now for about 10 years. And I'm not a native New Yorker, but I started exploring New York City, and I found out that in New York City, there's more than 1 million Muslims. And I was trying to find a mosque when I first moved there. And I just went on these websites where you can like find mosques, and I typed, my address on this site, and I found out that there's 163 mosques within a 10-mile radius of where I live. And Ramadan was right around the corner. So a buddy of mine, who I'm friends with in New York, we just came with this crazy idea one day. We're like, yo, wouldn't it be crazy if we went to 30 mosques in 30 days around New York City? And so it was just a crazy idea we had one day. And I went on Facebook, and I went on Twitter, and I posted this message that because the Muslim community in New York is so big, my friend and I are gonna have iftar. Iftar is just a meal to break the fast at sunset during Ramadan. At a different masjid. Masjid is just a fancy word for a mosque every single day. So that was the plan. 30 mosques in 30 days around New York City. And when I posted that and tweeted that out on Facebook and Twitter, all our friends and family were like, yo, that's really cool, guys. You should blog about this. You guys should blog about this. But I'm like, why? Blogs are dumb. Like, I don't read blogs. Like, why would I want to write a blog? This is just some stupid idea we have. Who's going to read this? But they kept insisting, like, guys, you really should blog about this. You really should blog about this. Right, okay. Fine. And so we launched the blog basically to like shut them up. Oh yeah, this is that's maybe before the baldness started kicking in. Thank you for laughing at my insecurities. But the cool thing about it was not only was our family and friends reading the blog, we quickly discovered that we were getting emails from all over. Like we got emails from like California, and then it was like, hey, I'm in China. We love reading your blogger. Hey, I'm in South Africa. I love reading your blogger. Hey, we're big fans of your blog here in Luxembourg. I'm like, yo, I don't even know where Luxembourg is, but that's awesome that you read the blog. And so it's always like crazy excitement about it. And so the next year, we want to step our game up because we know that there's a lot of cool communities around New York, but there's so many beautiful communities all over the country. So I go to my buddy, I'm like, yo, wouldn't it be even more crazy if we went to 30 states in 30 days during Ramadan? So that's how that happened, and this is how this happened. This was our map. So we started off in New York, went up to Maine, down to Florida, and then out to California, basically made our way back, almost doing like an outline of the country. And then the next year, we wanted to finish the other 20 states. So we started up in Alaska, went down the coast, obviously flew to Hawaii, and then made our way back. And so 2 years, we covered all 50 states, doing more than 25,000 miles of driving. But there's one particular story that really stands out to me. And it continues to put me on this mission and continue to talk about not only these stories, but other stories of people of color in general, Muslim or not. And it happened when we were in Montana over here. So has anybody ever been to Montana? Anybody been to Montana? Where'd you go in Montana? Do you remember? I was just driving through. Where were you in Montana? You were with them, you just had no idea, you're just in the back seat. My eyes were closed the whole time. Where'd you go?
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone, okay. Yeah. Montana was just a beautiful, just absolutely just beautiful state. And I remember we were driving, and everywhere you look in Montana, I'm sure you remember, like everything looks like a giant painting. It's just so beautiful, just beautiful mountains and wildlife and all this stuff. It's just so scenic and beautiful. And so we're driving, and we're in the car, and we're just jamming to Selena Gomez's new album. Don't judge me for my music choices, y'all. So we're in the car having a good time, and I see this garbage bag on the road, and I don't think anything of it. I continue to start driving, and as I drive over the garbage bag, boom! Turns out that it wasn't a garbage bag. It was actually a rock that I ran over, and smoke is coming out from the back of our rental car. So we start freaking out. We're like, oh man, Enterprise is going to kill us. And so we pull over, and smoke is coming all over, and I wait for the car to cool down. And once the car cools down, I try to start it. It's not starting. Man, what do we do? Car's broken. Like, we have to break our fast in a different community every day. We can't afford to waste any time. What do we do in this situation? So we're like, all right, let's just deal with this later. We got to go to town. We got to go to meet the Muslims in Bozeman, Montana. We'll just call AAA. We'll call a tow truck, and we'll just deal with this car later. So we pull out our phones to call for help. No cell phone service. So we're stuck in the mountains. We have no idea where we are, and there's no way we can call for help. We don't know what to do. And so my friend that I was traveling with, the brilliant man that he is, he says, Aman, I got a plan. I was okay, what's the plan? And so he says, okay, Aman, check this out. I'm gonna go hitch a ride from somebody on the highway, and I'm gonna go into town. And once I go into town, I'm gonna get cell phone service. Once I get cell phone service, I'm gonna call the tow truck. Once the tow truck comes, I'm gonna come back and get you. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a good plan, but what am I supposed to do? He said, well, I was thinking you just wait here by yourself in the mountains where you can't call for help. I'm like, what a brilliant idea. I'll see you later. And so he leaves, and he said he'd be like 10, 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. And so I'm sitting there in the car. Almost not shut over. I'm just sitting there in the car, and 15 minutes becomes 20 minutes. 20 minutes becomes 30 minutes. 30 minutes becomes 40 minutes. 40 minutes becomes an hour. I'm like, where is this guy? He said he'd be like 15, 20 minutes. And so I'm just looking out the window on the highway, and all of a sudden, I saw a bunch of deer just run across the highway. I was like, I just got a little startled. And then after that, I saw a family of coyotes chasing after the deer. I'm like, okay, time to lock these doors. And I start freaking out because a few minutes after that, a herd of bears started running across the highway too. I'm like, did I pray today? I need to pray more in Ramadan. Like, I need to do some extra fasting or something. Like, I'm about to die out here. And I'm freaking out because I'm about to get turned into a picnic by all these animals. I'm like, where is this guy? He said he'd be like 20 minutes. Then all of a sudden, I hear this like thunder noise in the background. And I look behind me, and I saw this giant tow truck. Help had finally arrived. So my buddy gets out of the truck, and he gets out. And then the driver of the truck, his name was Ken. He gets out of the truck. And tell y'all a little bit about Ken. This guy has one of the most awesome mustaches I've ever seen in my life. Look at that. Like, I'm convinced that that's not even a mustache. That's his lips being protected by the wings of an angel. It's awesome. And so I'm just like totally like daydreaming about this guy's mustache. And so we get in the truck with him. So my buddy on the trip, Hassan Tark, he's a photographer for National Geographic and Vice, and brilliant, photographer and filmmaker. And so he's the one that did all the cool visuals on the strip. And so Bassam pulls out his camera, and he's like, hey, Ken, can you smile for our camera, please? And Ken goes, I am smiling. It was awesome. So we get to town, And we prayed with the Muslims there. They don't have a mosque in Montana. So this, a lot of them are college students, so we just all pray, like a classroom on campus there. And so we're freaking out because the next day we got to go to North Dakota, Fargo, North Dakota. And it was about 8 hours away. And so sunset was at 8 o'clock. So the latest we can leave Montana is 12 o'clock. We got to get this car fixed. So we have to get the car fixed by 12 o'clock. And so we get up super early in the morning. We go to the mechanic, and mechanic takes way too long. He fixes the car, but at this point, it's like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, oh man, we're not going to make it to Fargo. What are we going to do? We need a backup plan. We need a backup. And so I literally went on Google, and I typed in Muslims in North Dakota. And Google was like, did you mean Muslims in Chicago? And I'm looking around on Google. I can't find anything about any mosques or anything aside from this place in Fargo. So I'm looking around, and about 4 or 5 search entries down, I saw some random person's blog and according to this blog, it said that the very first mosque that was ever built in the United States is in Ross, North Dakota, a town of only 38 people, and Muslims have been living there since the 1700s. Like, what? And so I'm looking around. I didn't know anything about that. And I'm like looking around. I don't find a website for the mosque. I can't find a phone number. I can't find anything. I go on Facebook and look for like every Abdul and Nadia I could find. Like nobody. I can't find anybody in North Dakota. So I don't know what to do. There's no, where is this place? I don't even know if this place is legit. It's just some person's like blog post. I didn't find any news articles, no nothing. So I'm looking all over, and I'm looking on Google Maps, and I started searching this town of Ross, a super small town. And I started looking around, and in Google Maps, I found in Ross a Muslim cemetery. So I was like, okay, if there's a cemetery for Muslims, the mosque has to be nearby. It's a small town, so we just use that. There's not even an address for the cemetery. It was just a little plot point that somebody put on Google Maps. I'm like, okay, well, I see the intersection on the map. I'll just put that in my GPS, and we'll just use that. So completely relying on some random intersection we found on Google Maps, we drove out 4 or 5 hours out to North Dakota. And North Dakota is another beautiful state, but also frustrating was there weren't any highway signs. So we didn't know if we were like going the right way or any gas stations asked for directions, just farmland for hours and hours and hours on end. So we had no idea. I'm completely relying on this GPS on my phone. And so as I'm driving, my buddy, he's trying to call people. So we call City Hall, and we call City Hall, and somebody picks up. We're like, hey, is there a mosque there? And they're like, we don't know what a mosque is, but we know what a church is. Want to call the church? I was like, yeah, sure, can we call the church? So we call the church, and we're like, hey, are there any Muslims in town? They're like, I don't think I know what a Muslim is. But everybody in town comes to church. I'm like, who doesn't go to church? He's like, oh, we have this friend named Lila. I was like, oh, do you know if she's Muslim? He's like, I don't know. You want to talk to her though? We're like, okay. So gives us the phone number of Lila. And it turns out that not only is Lila Muslim, but she's the caretaker of the mosque. Boy, awesome, this place is legit. And so we made contact, it was awesome. She tells us about it. And she's like, oh, you guys want to come now? You want to come tonight? I already have plans, but so I can't open the door for you to the mosque, but you're more than welcome to like look at it from the outside and take pictures if you want. I'm like, okay, as long as you're welcome, that's all we're asking. So we go to North Dakota, and we get to Ross, and a super, super, super small town, and the sun is slowly starting to set. So sunset's coming in, it's time to break the fast, and we still haven't found the mosque. And so I look at my GPS, we get to Ross, and the GPS says, take a final turn down this dirt road, and the mosque should be straight up ahead. So I take the turn, and I look all the way out into the horizon, and I see absolutely nothing. It's like, GPS says we're here. Where is it? I'm looking around. I don't see anything. I see empty farmland. So we call Lila back. She's not picking up the phone. So we're right to voicemail. She's probably breaking her fast. We don't know what to do. And so we're so frustrated. My friend gets mad at me. He's like, Aman, this is all your fault. Why'd you have to run over that rock in Montana? I was like, oh yeah, your mama. And then he pushes me. And I push him back, and then he pushes me again, and I push him back, and we're yelling, we're fighting, we're shoving, we're yelling, we're fighting, and shoving, and driving, and yelling, fighting, and shoving. And as we're yelling, fighting, shoving, and driving in the car, I look outside my right window, and I see this. So we found the mosque, and you can see like this crescent gate, and that crescent and that crescent moon and star is often a symbol you see associated with Islam. But there's the mosque. Like here's a closer shot of it. It almost looks like this toy mosque that just fell from the sky, right? And it just caught us off guard, just amazing. And it was so peaceful. And my buddy is standing like around here. He's like, Aman, check this out. I found the cemetery. And we started looking at the gravestones. And we saw things like Nazir Omar, born 1908, Ahmed Jaha, a Korean War veteran. We found Muslims that were World War I veterans, World War II veterans, and Muslims born in the 1800s, the 1700s. And of all places, they were living in Ross, North Dakota? And I didn't know anything about this. And so Lila finally calls us back. And we're like, Lila, I know you can't meet with us tonight, but we have so many questions. We'll wait a little bit in the morning. Can we just ask you a few questions about this place? We have even just 20 minutes of your time. And so she agrees to meet with us in the morning. And she opens the mosque for us. So there's a small little space, little intimate prayer space. And this is Lila. She is 80, she turns 87 next month. And she is a 7th generation Muslim American. And so I asked Lila this question. I was like, Lila, how the heck did you guys end up here? Like, why didn't your like ancestors go to like New York or Philly or Chicago or LA or Houston, Miami, a big, commercial metropolitan city? Like, how did your ancestors end up in North Dakota? And so she was explaining the story to me how in the 1700s and 1800s, there was a lot of farmers in modern day Lebanon. And as the Ottoman Empire, which is modern day Turkey, was spreading throughout the Middle East, there was all these farmers in Lebanon and Syria. They were required, all the men were required to fight, but they didn't want to fight. They just wanted to farm. So they're trying to figure out ways to get out of there. And they heard in America, they're opening up all this immigration with this new law called the Homestead Act. I'm sure you learned about in school where you farm the land for a few years, you can keep it. And so thousands and thousands of Lebanese and Syrian farmers came to Ross, North Dakota, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Evansville, Indiana, Toledo, Ohio, and a lot of immigrants, Scandinavian immigrants came over, a lot of other European immigrants came to even Pennsylvania and throughout, middle of America. And their ancestors have lived here. And then after that, and their descendants lived there peacefully for generations. So Lila's telling me her story. And I said, okay, Lila, let me ask you this. You went to school in the 1930s, the 1940s. Like race relations back then were bad enough between white people and black people all across the country. But what was it like for you in such a small town of 38 people in the 30s and 40s, only minority, the only Muslim in such a small town? That must have been crazy, right? You must have had some crazy racism, right? And she's like, no. I'm like, girl, go play. What are you talking about? And she's like, no, never. Honestly, God is my witness, not a single incident. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? Not even one, nobody said something like hateful or ignorant or anything like that. She's like, no. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. What do you mean you had no discrimination? How's that possible? And she goes, because at the end of the day, we were all farmers. It didn't matter what your skin color was or how you chose to express your faith. At the end of the day, we were all farmers. And this was a narrative I kept seeing again and again and again as I started traveling like all over the country. Because there's a narrative on television that Muslims hate these people hate Muslims, this and that, and this and that, and this and that. But like everywhere I was going, whether it's here in Philly or other parts of the country, I found so many beautiful stories of Muslims hanging out with their Jewish neighbors and their Christian neighbors and their Hindu neighbors and their atheist neighbors and Sikh neighbors and all coming together and just hanging out and chilling. Like, but I keep seeing these narratives of just like hate, ignorance, racism, xenophobia, this and that and this and that. But everywhere I was traveling, I was seeing the total opposite. That doesn't mean that racism and xenophobia and discrimination doesn't exist. But I feel like when we focus on the small handful of crazy, stupid idiots, and all we do is focus on them, it creates this impression that it's happening all over the country. But everywhere I was traveling, I was seeing the total opposite. And so it was so frustrating. And it put us on this mission that, you know what, we need to get these stories out there. If we have time, I'll come back to this one. But this was New Medina, Mississippi. And it was a liberated slaves actually established this farming community. Their descendants still live there. So roughly about 30 to 40% of slaves in the United States were believed to have been Muslim. And a lot of these slaves came from like Senegal, Mali, Mauritania, other parts of like West Africa. And a lot of these slaves were from where they're from were like academic professors and like very well educated. So they came to America, and when they were enslaved, they brought their education. They started educating their fellow non-Muslim slaves how to read, how to write, about science, about academics. But then they taught them about social justice, taught them about human rights and freedom. And a lot of these Muslim slaves helped their fellow non-Muslim slaves escape and fight for their freedom. And this was a colony that was established by emancipated slaves. It's really cool. It says like Al-Rahman Road. So in Islam, there's something called the 99 names of Allah. It's these different qualities of God. And so every street in town is named after these qualities. So there's like Al-Rahman Road, Al-Jabbar Avenue, Al-Rahim Street. It's really cool. And this is the Imam over there. But anywho, but we just kept seeing like so many dope communities that I just didn't see on television. Like we hung out with a group of Native American Muslims in New Mexico, and they still live that Native American life and still use a little bit of Spanish influence, a little bit of like Pueblo Native American influence to build this beautiful mosque from adobe mud. There's another one in the mountains. But anywho, we start traveling. And growing up, so like I said, I was born and raised in the United States. And I always had this inner conflict as a Muslim because I'm born and raised in Ohio, right? My family came from India like 30 or 40 years ago. And I'm proud of my heritage, but I don't really identify as being Indian because I'm not from there. And I think I'm an American, but maybe people disagree and don't think what. So I would get confused about calling myself an American. And I'm a Muslim, I believe in Islam, but I'm not really the stereotypical Muslim. I don't even know what that means. And so these little like, what am I questions is something that I've been struggling with my whole life. And a lot of Muslim kids my age and other people always are struggling with like, who am I? Am I Muslim? Am I black? Am I white? Am I this? Am I that? How do I identify? And so we found this mosque out in California that I think has answered that question. It's called the Talib Collective in San Francisco. And they have this beautiful motto over there. And the motto there is, come as you are to Islam as it is. So I'll break that down. So come as you are is a Nirvana lyric. Basically, they mean come as you are. Like, doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. If you say you're Muslim, you're welcome here. If you're not Muslim, you're welcome here too. But come as you are to Islam as it is. In other words, what you do outside, we're not concerned about. But when you're here, this is a sacred space. So please respect the sacred space. Whatever you do out there, that's fine. But don't bring that negative energy in here. This is a place of love and a place of embrace. And what's amazing is people from all different walks of life. This guy is the Imam, Osama Cannon. And this is one of the Imams. His name is Zachary. This guy is the Imam. And so I'm praying next to him. And to the side of me is this like elderly, like Pakistani uncle with like a long beard and the little like, topi, the skull cap. And then next to him is a dude in like, gold chain and a throwback jersey. And we would look totally weird in any other situation, but here was like super chill because everyone's like, come as you are here. And so I start talking to this guy, Jason Kalibo, and we're friends to this day. First time I met him. And we just started just chopping it up and started talking. And he breaks it down for me. He's like, man, just think about this. Forget about being Muslim for a second. Think about being a human being, Over the centuries, humanity has accumulated all this like junk and all this cultural baggage and silliness and absurd and divisions and all these like colonialism and borders and this and that. But faith is supposed to be something that liberates us. It's supposed to bring out the best in you. And it's about going back to those basics. Like, yeah, that's right, man. And we just like started vibing and started talking. So I'm having this amazing conversation with him. And we slept over at the mosque, and it's about like 1 o'clock at night. and I gotta write a blog post. I had some amazing conversations with so many people. I don't even know where to start. And so I'm on my laptop, I'm trying to type something, and Jason, he was in the parking lot, and he's coming back inside. He's like, hey man, I meant to ask you, you should come to my wedding. I was like, oh, thanks bro, it's really nice of you to invite me to your wedding, but I'm literally leaving in the morning, like, I'm not local, like I don't live here. He's like, well, that's okay, you can come. I was like, no, bro, I'm leaving in the morning. He's like, no, it's happening right now. I was like, 1 o'clock in the morning? And he's like, yeah, you want to be the best man at my wedding? So I was like, okay. And so your mom came in, his now wife, April, came in, and his family came in. And at 1:30 in the morning, I was the best man to April and Laura at their wedding. We had the wedding reception at Taco Bell because it was the only thing that was open. It was awesome. And I started thinking about like culture, like I come from like a South Asian culture. And you see these like Indian weddings where like, I went to one wedding recently. The bride had $40,000 worth of flower decorations on the wall. Like it didn't even look that cool. Like I would be more impressed if they just had a box with $40,000 in it. Like, wow, that's really cool. They have $40,000, right? And I just started thinking about all this silliness. And honestly, this was like the most beautiful wedding that I ever attended. It was just family and friends and just a beautiful spiritual journey. And they had a wedding and we started jamming. Like April is a poet, and so she did a poem that she wrote. Her name is Laura, is a poet, and did a poem that she wrote for Jason. We're just having a good time. I'm like, that's what love is about. Love is about the simplicity, but all this like capitalism and all this other silly stuff, this complicates things. So it's something that I was reflecting upon. And I started to think about it because I started thinking about what I saw in North Dakota and started thinking about this. And I started asking myself these questions of, what is home? Then we go to Florida later on the trip, and CNN, they wanted to link up with us. And they said, hey, we'd like to do a story on you guys. We'd like to connect with you. And I said, okay, if you guys are gonna do a story on us, you have to travel with us. You have to be in the car with us. You have to fast with us. You have to sleep with us at the mosque. Like, you gotta get the whole 30 mosque experience. You just can't show up for like 20 minutes and do your little soundbite and leave. Like, you need to live this life for a couple of days. That's a condition. They're like, okay, cool. And they ended up doing like this hour-long special on our trip. And so we picked them up at their studio in Atlanta, and we went down and we're driving to Florida. And as we're driving to Florida, we passed through Georgia, and we passed through this town of Chula, Georgia. It's a town of only 900 people. And we're driving, and I look out my window, and I see this huge Confederate flag just waving in the air as I'm looking out the highway. And I see that flag, and I'm like, guys, this place is so racistly awesome. We have to check this out. Like, how is a flag in this day and age, a Confederate flag? What is happening? We have to see. This is insane. And so my friend is like freaking out, seeing him like, I don't think we should do this. I'm like, come on, man, let's just do this. And so we pull up, and it turns out it was this Confederate souvenir shop. And there were these like 3 elderly Southern gentlemen that were sitting in a rocking chair in front of the shop. And there's 3 people. I think I counted like 5 total teeth among them, right? So they're just like mean mugging us the whole time. And so Robert Johnson, he was the videographer for CNN, and he puts his hand on my shoulders, Aman, and he's black. And he's like, Aman, please, it's not worth it, man. Don't go out there. Don't do it, man. It's not worth it. I'm like, no, whatever, guys. It's not that. What could happen? We're just gonna have a conversation. I'm not here to argue or yell at them. I'm just curious. Like, how can this even be here? And so I get out of the car, and I'm waiting for someone to go down. And these guys look at us and go, hey, welcome. Great day today, isn't it? Make yourself at home. You want to pull up a chair? How are you doing? And we have this like awesome conversation just about life and about spirituality and this and that. And I started to think about it because, here I was, being racist, here I was thinking that these guys are going to be racist and prejudiced towards me, but I was the one that was actually being racist and prejudiced towards them. Now, that's not to say that this isn't a big deal. Like, obviously, The Confederacy is a symbol of slavery, it's despicable, and anybody that waves the flag, we saw what happened in Charlottesville, and why it's problematic to normalize this. That's awful and despicable, right? So I'm not saying like, oh, these guys are okay, what's wrong with that? But it really made me reflect because these guys are really kind to us. I can only hold them accountable for how they're treating us. Now, what's in their hearts, what they actually believe, I obviously don't even remotely have to condone or accept, but this idea of what is the cultural racism that I bring to the table is something that I was thinking about a lot. Forget about these guys, but even when I travel through the South, I automatically assume, oh, well, this guy must be a redneck, this guy must be a racist, or this guy must be this or that. And so what is the racism that I bring to the table was something that I was really starting to think about on this trip. And so we go to Florida, and as we're there, we're in Jacksonville, Florida, and we found another place that was too racistly awesome to ignore. So there's a word in Arabic called sheikh, and a sheikh is like, it can mean like, it's a term of respect, usually given to like a scholar, a leader, or anything like that. And so we're in Jacksonville, Florida, and we find this place called Sheikh Sandwiches, home of the Camel Rider. Check this out, y'all. A Middle Eastern / Muslim themed fast food restaurant with nothing but pork products on the menu. You don't know Muslims can't eat pork. And so I'm like, yo, this place is racistly awesome to pass up. And so we're obviously Muslim, we can't eat pork, and we're fasting, we can't eat anything. But Wayne, the reporter for CNN, I had to get him to order a Camel Rider sandwich. Like, what is this? And so there he is with the Camel Rider sandwich, or as I like to call it, the Big Mac of bigotry, right? And inside the sandwich, there was like pepperoni, salami, ham, bacon, sausage. All it needed was like a middle finger and American flag in it to complete it. So yeah, just these random things that we started to see on the trip. Then I remember the next stop on the trip was Alabama. And we were supposed to go to Mobile, Alabama, or we're supposed to go to Birmingham, Alabama. And I've been to Birmingham. The Muslim community there is pretty cool, but every day we have this challenge. We got to write something interesting, something different about every single state. And as you keep traveling, there's cool communities, but sometimes it might feel the same stories or whatever. So we need something different, and I couldn't find anything in Birmingham. So as we're leaving Florida, this guy in Jacksonville tells us, hey, I'm from Mobile, Alabama. You guys should go there. I was like, okay, well, what's cool about Mobile? He said, well, all the car dealerships, they're all owned by Muslims. I was like, okay, I guess it's kind of interesting. It's better than what we had in Birmingham. Let's just go there. And so we made a last minute change of plans to go with CNN to Mobile, Alabama. So we're in the car and we're driving. And normally, like when we travel, we make contact with somebody in town. And normally, you know, we make an appointment, an arrangement, because we don't want to just roll up on them with like cameras and stuff like that. But nobody, this was a last minute change, and nobody in Mobile was like picking up the phone. So we left voicemails and we just head over there. And we go to this mosque. It was like a super small mosque and in Mobile. And we show up, and I found this dress code on the door of the mosque. So I'm like, okay, this must be a more conservative place. Said things like, brothers, no shorts or pants dragging on the ground, no tight pants. For women, wear headpiece, covers all your hair, no perfume, no makeup. Ah! It was just like, really? So I was like, okay, this is a little bit more of a conservative, you know, place. But caught me off guard to see like a dress code. The first thing that you see on the door, like most mosques is just like dress respectfully, and it's not like a dress code, just more just implicit. But to see it so strict on the door, the first thing you see, I'm like, okay, it's a little bit different. So we go inside the mosque, and I tell CNN, I was like, guys, wait outside. Let me just make sure it's cool inside the mosque, and I'll let you guys come in. So I go inside, and I meet the imam, the spiritual leader of the mosque, and we're talking to him. And I was like, hey, my name is Aman Ali. I'm a comedian, and this is my friend, and we're on this, you know, adventure going across the country, visiting mosques, and it was cool to hang out with you guys. And they're like, oh, yeah, I didn't realize, yeah, sure, yeah, you guys are welcome here. And so I text CNN, like, hey, they're cool with us. I'm about to ask for you guys. And CNN, no, if they're cool with you guys, let us come in. We've done this before. we'll go. So we're talking to the imam, we're chatting him up. And as we start talking, CNN walks in. And the imam's like, whoa, wait, who are you guys? And CNN was like, my name is Wayne. I'm a reporter at CNN. This is my colleague, my videographer, Robert. And we're following these two gentlemen on their 30 mosques and 30-day adventure across the country. And the imam is so mad. He's like, CNN? CNN? You didn't tell me CNN was going to be here. All you guys, get out of here. I was like, what? Why? You didn't tell me CNN was going to be here. All you guys have to leave. But I'm like, we're Muslim. We're not welcome here. We can't even pray here. We won't take pictures. Like, well, what's the problem? He's like, okay, fine. You guys can pray here. But once you're done, you guys have to leave. Please leave. What? So what is that? Why is it so mean? It's like, and my friend's like, man, dude, if we're not welcome here, let's just not cause any problems. Let's just get out. We have to find another place. And so we prayed and we got up and left. And we're a vlog and we're on social media, so we need photos, but they didn't let us take any pictures while we were there. So we just did the next best thing we could think of. And so we just doodled what happened. So this is the Islamic Society of Mobile, artist for depiction. And this is us getting kicked out of the mosque. So on the surface, I just assumed that this was like a conservative mosque that doesn't like this or that. I'm like, these people are whatever. So I just had a surface understanding. But then afterwards, CNN emailed me this article. I'm like, hey, check this out. So about 6 months before our visit, there was a student it was a college student who left the country to join a terrorist organization in Somalia. And he came back to America and he was plotting some terrible things. He wanted to blow up some military base, and rightfully so. The FBI nabbed him and locked him up. And it turns out that his dad is actually the imam of the mosque. And so I saw all these stories and I was reading all the stuff, and like they were all shocked and they're all like surprised, and he had lied to everybody. The entire community was so sensitive and just so shaken up because people had no idea. Like, we didn't know he had this like scum behavior or this or that. Like, he said he was studying abroad and doing stuff, and he like lied to everybody. So I understand why he kicked us out. He probably thought we were like snooping around, talking about this, and he thought he's trying to move on and deal with such a painful tragedy. So I'm like, okay, that makes a lot more sense. So we didn't have anywhere to stay in Mobile, but the next stop on the trip was New Orleans, and my brother lives in New Orleans, so I'm like, we'll just crash on his couch, we'll figure it out. So CNN, they had been with us for a while, and they decided to go their separate ways. And we get back in the car and start driving out to New Orleans, and it's late at night, and I'm in Biloxi, Mississippi at this point, and this cop starts following me for a couple hours, like literally a couple of hours, and I'm getting like really paranoid. I'm like, am I driving too fast? Am I driving too slow? I know I downloaded that Usher CD a few months ago. Like, is it coming after me for that? Like, I don't know what's happening. I'm just like thinking of every possible scenario. And so after like 2 hours, literally 2 hours on the highway just following me, I changed lanes and he changes lanes. And then he puts his flashers on. I'm like, oh, man. And so pull over, and he comes up to the window. I roll it down, and he says, can I see your license and registration? So I give him my license, open the glove compartment, take the rental car registration. I give it to him. And he looks at it, and he goes, okay, can I see your license now? And I said, officer, I just gave you my license. And he said, nope, this is a state ID card. I need to see your license, sir. Clearly, I gave him a driver's license. I'm not dumb. And I know what my rights are as a citizen. He's clearly messing with us, and he's completely out of line, keeping asking these questions. We're like, whatever. We're in Biloxi, Mississippi. Like, how we conduct ourselves right now is going to determine if I'm going to sleep in my brother's house or in jail. So I'm not trying to, like, mess with that. So then he asked for my friend's license, which is not protocol, but whatever. We comply. My friend gives him his license, and he looks at me and goes, okay, I need you to step out of the car now. And I get out of the car. I'm like, okay. And all I'm thinking about is, oh man, it's gonna be such an awesome blog post. We get some page views out of this. And so we get out, or I get out. My friend's in the car, And he starts asking me these questions. Like, what are you guys doing tonight? I'm just driving. What are you guys up to? I'm like, should I tell him the truth? Should I tell him I'm visiting mosques? I'm like, I'm not doing anything illegal. Yeah. Officer, my friend and I, we're from New York. As you can see in ID, we're from New York, and we're going on this adventure, visiting mosques all across the country. And he's like, wow, that's really cool. Just hang tight. I'm just gonna talk to your friend real quick. And so I stand outside. He basically goes to the car to make sure that my story matches up with his. So CNN had just posted the story online and sent us a link. And so the cop is asking my friend all these questions. My friend's in the car. The cop is just asking questions through the window. And my friend loads up the CNN documentary, 44 minutes. And the cop watches the entire thing. And I'm just standing out there. I'm just like, what is happening? And he watches it. And he's like, wow. And then he shines a flashlight on my friend. Goes, so what do you guys think about that mosque that they're trying to build near Ground Zero? Heard about that a couple of years ago. Like, what do you guys think about that? And again, this is one of those questions going to determine if we're going to sleep in my brother's house or in jail. So my friend, the brilliant man that he is, starts echoing like all these like Fox News like talking points. Like, no, it's insensitive. It's a slap in the face. They should move it. They shouldn't do it. And it's insensitive. Blah blah blah. And the cop was like, yeah. And my friend is like, yeah. And he let us go. No ticket, no nothing. He just got up and left. And so I get back in the car. I'm like, dude, pull out the camera. We need a photo for the blog. And he's like, man, I'm not taking a picture. And so late at night, I pull out my cell phone. And all I could get was this as the cop started leaving. So I'm a big hip hop fan. Anybody remember Freeway? You guys remember the rapper Freeway, right? Jay-Z, Rockefeller, was really big in the early 2000s. Freeway was one of my favorite rappers growing up. Philly's and Freeway's like a Philly legend. Freeway, Meek Mill, Beanie Siegel, Freeway was one of the best freestyle battles. You ever YouTube freestyle, Freeway freestyles, you can see some amazing things. And Freeway hears about our project and sees that we're coming to Philadelphia. And his manager is like, hey, you guys should meet up with us. And I'm a huge hip hop nerd. Like, I remember Freeway from back in the day. I was like, dude, Freeway's here. And Freeway was one of Jay-Z's proteges on Rockefeller. And I was so excited. And so we hung out with Freeway that day. He's telling us what he's been up to and all this stuff. And I'm a huge fan. I was like, Freeway. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but can you spit a little bit for us? Can you spit some bars? And so we're standing in front of this Indian grocery store in downtown Philly. And so I go inside this grocery store and I was like, hi, we have a rapper with us and can we just shoot a quick video? And the guys were offering to do that video? It'll just take 5 minutes. And so this was Freeway freestyling inside this grocery store.
Yo, my name's Philly Freeway. I'm all about getting paid. I'm holding it down with 30 miles, 30 days. I'm in the hour of this Chinese store. My name's Philly Free and I am a ball. I get it down. I'm coming for the crown. Everywhere I go, they love it when I come around. You know how we do. You know what it is. Team early in the building and we repping for the kids. I started off not wanting much. Throw some low shirts and a pair of Jordans was success. Over a decade later, I'm wiser and greater, so I'm bringing more in. Yeah, we touring. Now my pockets flooded like New Orleans. Chevy so heavy, it'll break the levees if you sit it on it. Honest, like the nut, yo, Freezer, you a mess. They often tell me, Freezer, you the best, but my eyes tell me, Freezer, you should stop. You were spraying from the hot, and you don't want to be sitting when you die, because that's how you will stand in front of God. This is making me depressed. Yeah, I'm living with regrets. But my regrets are most people's lust. To get the fame and the checks, pressure bust pipes and I pray I don't bust. First thing I do in the morning is I make voodoo and pray. Fudge it, but it's sad because I be on the corner by the door, trying to feed my daughter and my son. I got a gun and the only funds I'm trying to smash him by acid. I know the truth, one of my worst than the Kappas and my jeopardizing my hereafter for this earth. See my cousin hear me get blasted by the cops put in the box, so I gotta be passionate in the verse. put his casket in a hearse. El Aksha Nash did the same spot. I took you how to gift and the curse. The shit hurts. Shit ratchet where I live. My back's to the fence, gotta repent by my bread. Looking for the cops to kill my cousin Heaney. Now I'm a 4-4 mag gripping. AR ad with them. We need to be somewhere reading Quran, but we channel live. All we do is spark madism. But we still trying to make it to gender. Fuck it. I hope we all there. Some them there, me there. But just know if you need a code, beware. And you can put your faith in the ranks of Salaki each share. Yeah. Mm.
So what he was talking about in that freestyle, he's talking about just this conflict that has that. There's a lot more conservative people in this community here in Philly that are telling him like, you can't do music, you can't do this, you can't do that. And he also gets like pulled into like the streets. So he's like trying to find the spiritual peace. He's always feels conflicted in. He talked about, used this metaphor about the 5 daily prayers and how one day he's praying and then he's on the corner like hustling and this and that. So he's just constant back and forth and conflict between trying to do what's right and getting pulled into like his own like desires and things like that. And so yeah, it was awesome like meeting him. But yeah, since we're in Philly, I had to share that story. So we finished off the trip in Michigan. Dearborn has one of the largest Muslim communities in the entire country. It has the largest population of Arabs outside the Middle East. Huge community, and we were there. We're just having a good time. What's really cool is they have this tradition there called house hopping, because a lot of people live by the mosque. And during Ramadan, when the holiday we celebrate the end of Ramadan is Eid, and they have this tradition called house hopping where everybody just goes to their house and opens up their doors, and you go from house to house to house. Doesn't matter who you are. You don't have to knock. You just roll right in, and then you go from house to house to house. And I live in New York. Like, we don't have that. We don't have apartment hopping. Like, if I just walk to somebody's house, I pull out a gun and like call the cops something, right? But in Michigan, we just went from like house to house to house. And so we just had a good time. Like, we went to people's houses, hanging out, took a bunch of photos. There's some kids trying to choke each other. Very halal pose there. And so we're at this person's house, and we're trying to get some photos for the blog, and somebody texts us, you gotta come downstairs. Epic ping pong battle happened between 2 uncles. You have to check this out. So we ran downstairs, and we found this. And so my friend, it took him a while to get the shot perfect. Took a few shots, took a few moments, and then he shows me this viewfinder. He's like, check it out. And I looked at him. And I was like, you know what? I think we're done. And I started to think about it, because here we were going house hopping from house to house to house. It was very similar to the city hopping we were doing, where everywhere we went, people were embracing us with open arms. And it goes back to what I was thinking about before, about this whole idea of like, who am I? Like, am I Indian, am I Muslim, am I American, or this or that, or this or that? And then I started thinking even farther back, that all the way back to like the 1700s. And I realized that I'm just the latest chapter on a book that's being written about this beautiful community. And I finally realized that I don't have to be American, Indian, Muslim, like, I'm all those things. Like, I'm Aman, Ali. Like, I can just be me. I don't have to like fill a little bubble or anything like that on an SAT. Like, I'm not Asia Pacific Islander. I don't even know what the hell that is. So it really started to make sense that this is my place. Like, this is who I am. I'm just the latest chapter on a book that's being written. And I just kept seeing all these narratives like again and again and again throughout the country. This was a family in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. This is Aziza Igram. This was taken in the 1940s, I think, or 50s. And that's her daughter, Fatima. They're in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Similar story. Ancestors been there since 1700s. Another cool narrative, the Somali cab drivers in Minnesota are now like a political force to be reckoned with. And if you want to run for office in Minnesota, you got to get the Somali vote. Otherwise, like, you are done. This was, this was cool. This was a Pakistani guy that married a Mormon woman, and they're going to have some really hot babies, I'm just saying. But yeah, these are the faces of Islam that I kept seeing again and again and again. We actually took this one in, right outside of Philly. There's a mosque. I think it's in Westchester, PA. So it's not too far from here. Another cool mosque. But these are the faces of Islam that I kept seeing. And again, the faces I see on television are the angry bearded dude or the girl dressed like the Pac-Man ghost. And I was like, where are these Muslims? And I see these Muslims everywhere I go, but I don't see them on TV or in the news or in magazines or in newspapers. But again, these are the narratives I kept seeing again and again and again. So then we started getting a lot of comments. They're like, hey, this is really cool what you guys are doing, but you two hairy bearded dudes, like your experience might have been cool, but I'm a woman. What would my experience be like if I were to do this? And I said, hey, you know what? Why don't you just do it and find out? Why should we have all the fun? And the cool thing about it, the next year, there were more than 225 different 30 mosque and 30-day projects that were happening all over the world. We even had like Christian people saying like, there was a woman in Kentucky, she's like, for Lent, she was doing 40 churches during Lent and was like visiting churches all throughout Kentucky. She would take her family in a minivan, just like drive all over. And so it was really cool to see things like all over the world, like Indonesia, we saw pink mosques. In Holland, 30 Dagen, 30 Mosqueen. And then 30 Nights was a project in Chicago. It's just really cool that what started off as this really stupid, crazy idea of wouldn't it be crazy if we did this has now blossomed into this global movement. And it just put me on this journey till today. This, not just to talk about this project, but it's put me on this mission. Start telling stories about our community and other people, underrepresented communities, because I could sit here and complain about the media this and the media that and blah, 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 but I can create content, I can create stories and shoot them and sell them to news outlets and create films. And that's what we did. We partnered with Vice and we started, cranking these stories up because we felt like people need to hear these narratives. And so again, what started off as this crazy idea never would have happened if I didn't run over that rock in Montana. So, any questions? Anybody got any questions? Comments? Anybody? Okay. What's like the best restaurant that you can here? Anybody making recommendations? What kind of cuisine? I'm not picky. If somebody's in town for like one night, like where should they go? What's it called? 1950s?
Nifty 50s.
Nifty 50s? What's that?
It's like a. They have good milkshakes. Really good milkshakes.
Sold. Okay.
There's a town that is backed up. So
Okay.
it's really good.
What else?
Yemen Said.
Yemen Saeed?
Yeah.
Is Yemeni food?
Yeah.
I like Yemeni food. Where? Is it downtown?
No, New York. It's too far.
Oh, in New York.
Yeah.
Wait, Yemeni Saeed?
Yeah.
Is it Yemen Cafe?
No, it's restaurant. It's famous.
Oh, okay, because Yemen Cafe is famous in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's the one.
Is that the one?
It's now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I've been there. Yeah, that place is awesome. That place is really cool. I'm talking about Philly, like, where's a good spot?
Really cheesesteak.
Where should I get a good cheesesteak?
That's so.
You have a restaurant?
That's
Pat's is good? All right, I'll check it out. Anyway, do you guys have any questions, comments? I digress. I'm good. What's up?
What are you working on now?
So I'm doing a film with Netflix. It's a true story. It's a documentary, and it's about a group of Muslim morticians that was so fed up with street violence they wanted to do something about it. So Newark, New Jersey, has one of the highest murder rates in the entire country. There's about anywhere between 4 to 5 murders happening every single week. And what these morticians wanted to do, they were so fed up because the caskets they were building were getting smaller and smaller, and so they decided to pull kids off the streets. And they make them wash bodies, build coffins, meet mothers that have lost loved ones to gun violence. And so through the lens of death, it's teaching these kids that their own lives are actually worth living. So our film is following this 12-year-old kid and the 17-year-old going through this journey and learning how to become a man. Because it's a conflict. It's not just an inner city issue. Like learning how to be a man is something that's, what is masculinity? All these issues that a lot of young kids are very confused about and don't have those role models to mentor them to teach them how to be sensible, responsible human beings. And so our film explores a lot of these issues. Yeah.
I think your experience would have been different if it was not Ramadan.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, probably because Ramadan, there's always programs happening and every day. So it probably would have been harder. most mosques throughout the country, like there's events on like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if we came on like a Wednesday, there might not be anything aside from prayer. So yeah, it was definitely, Ramadan was probably the only way you could do it. Otherwise, we would go and there'd be like 5 people there, like 10 people there, something like that. But yeah, everyone went. It was like, it was constantly packed. And it was really cool because we were very fortunate to get a lot of cool news coverage. Like we were on CNN, New York Times, BBC, NPR, and people kept hearing about it. And we, as we were traveling, we posted our route. And people would like show up, like, yo, I heard you guys coming to Phoenix. Like, I'm like excited. Like, weird. We had like groupies and like all this was cool. It was a little frightening, but it was awesome. Like to see how quickly it started to spread. So, yeah.
Do you have any advice for Muslims and non-Muslims in this current political environment? That despite the fact that you can say that not everyone is hateful
Sure.
on the normal day-to-day level, people are pretty cool, but the political environment is charged and what people can do on the maybe college campuses
Absolutely.
or elsewhere to kind of combat that.
That's a fantastic question. Again, I do think that, and this is from my own personal experience. And so when the election happened, when Trump got elected, AKA Voldemort, when Voldemort took over, I called my agent. I was like, you know what? We need to get out and we need to start talking to people. Let's forget about preaching to the choir, this or that. We looked at the election map and we went to communities where Trump won by more than 20 percentage points. And we booked shows in every one of those communities. We ended up doing like 70, maybe 80 events. And it was called I'm a Muslim, Ask Me Anything. I'm not a scholar. I'm not an expert. I can't speak on certain issues, blah, blah, but I'm Muslim. I've been all over the country, all over the world, and I can tell you stories of what I've gone through and other people have gone through, and let's have this conversation. And so I show up, and I'm thinking like, oh, they're going to ask me about jihad. They're going to ask about Sharia. They're going to ask about hijab and what happened in Saudi Arabia or something that they heard somebody or blah, blah, the usual stuff. And I'm like, I'm prepared for that. And I started getting amazing questions. Like I remember I was in Springfield, I'm very coordinated. I remember I was in Springfield, Missouri, and this guy, he asked me this amazing question. He was just like, hey, so you said you're Muslim, right? I said, yeah. And he's like, you were born Muslim? I was like, yeah. And he said, well, how much of the fact are you Muslim because you were born into Islam? Like, do you think it would be a religion that you would accept if you had a choice? I said, wow, that's a great question. And we kept having conversations about spirituality. Like I was performing at like VFWs, Veterans Foreign War, like, you know, hangout spots, GOP meetings, and like all this stuff. And we were finding common ground. We're just like having a conversation. And again, I don't have to accept everything that people believe, but we can have a conversation. And I remember this guy, this was in Gadsden, Alabama. And he came up to me and he had a Trump hat. So I was like, all right, it's about to go down. And so he comes up to me, he's like, hey, I really enjoyed what you're talking about. And he said, you know how you're telling people that people should have some nuance and understanding about Muslims and take some time, that what you see on TV is not, you know, people in your community you should engage in. I was like, yeah. He's like, well, I think you need to do that for people like me, people that voted for Trump and other people, that we aren't these crazy bigot redneck yokels, that there are people that were just frustrated with this or that. And so I was like, okay, I see what you're saying. Doesn't mean I have to agree. What about when Trump said this or did that or this or that? Doesn't mean I have to accept that and say, oh yeah, it's just like us. But I can make more of an effort to take time to understand people. And so I tell people, like, I think not only should non-Muslims visit mosques, but I think Muslims should go to churches. Just check them out. Doesn't mean you have to convert or change or this or that, but like, if you want people to take the time to understand you, you have to have the decency to give someone the same courtesy. And there's different ways to do that. You don't have to argue, you don't have to debate, just go grab a sandwich. Go check out a movie, go check out a game, like go do something. Like, it doesn't have to all be about like policy and arguing. And I just kept finding that, especially when I was going to like very like strong GOP communities, people were just curious. They're like, I read this, but I don't really know. Like, I heard this. Is this true? They're like genuinely asking. I'm like, okay, let's have this conversation. And I think that many people, regardless of your faith, were very curious to hear, but nobody wants to take that first step of, I'm afraid that I'm offending that person or this, that. And I try to break that. And I try to be a testament to the fact of the reward of stepping out of your own comfort zone? That's a great question.
Have you ever thought about doing a project with a different group or somebody? Like, I know that there was a guy who came last year, he was called the Free Hugs Project. Have you ever heard of that?
What's it called? Free Hearts?
Free Hugs Project.
No, that sounds cool. What,
Yeah,
it just goes around giving hugs?
Yeah, there's, were you
Yeah, I know that. So, I think it was again, sort of a Trump response of just like,
Sure.
stop with the hate and sort of.
That's cool.
project, So.
Yeah,
I'll have
he
to look
would
him
go to different events where racism was high.
Sure.
He would offer free hugs to people and he would just speak to them. Like, have you ever thought about doing that with somebody else?
I haven't. That's a great idea. I should definitely think about it.
Yeah. I mean, he was real good
Yeah.
when he came last year, and I think they're real good too. So I think you guys will be good together. to be
Yeah,
honest.
that's a great idea. I appreciate that.
Rallies and stuff.
Yeah.
Those rallies.
It's up, just get free hugs and like.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man. And I think those are the things that leave me hopeful. Because obviously, like, when Voldemort took over, like, I don't call him by his real name. I just can't. But many of us were probably really nervous and just like, oh man, what's going to happen to people of color? Like, we see what's happening with police brutality, and then now these Muslim bans and this and that. Like, what's going to happen to our country and just about everything? And, trying to build a wall and xenophobia and all these like things are going through my mind. And so I remember Trump takes office, aka Voldemort, takes office, and he passed like this ban to ban immigrants from suspect Muslim countries, even though he left out all the Muslim countries where he has hotels, but that's neither here nor there. And I was out of town that weekend. I was doing a show in Toronto. And while I was gone, apparently, there was all these like massive protests that were happening at airports where people are being detained and people are protesting outside. So I fly back from Toronto and I'm at JFK airport. I'm in baggage claim and there's thousands of people like applauding. Like, yeah! I'm like, they realize I'm not Aziz Ansari, right? Like, they know that, right? And it was just awesome. And I saw like Muslims, Christians, Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, atheists, like all together, all chanting, we're all Muslims today. We're all Muslims today. There's literally 15,000 people at JFK airport, all together, like celebrating and praying. I saw Muslims that were praying out of a form of resistance, and non-Muslims were all holding hands around them to show some solidarity. It was amazing. Like a couple of years ago, if you prayed in the airport, boom, locked up like handcuffs, right? And so I step outside. I'm trying to get a cab. And I saw this like elderly Pakistani woman sitting outside it. She reminded me a lot of my mother. My mother's a very like protective mother. Like, Mom, please be careful. You get sick, and don't say that. Someone might lock you up. Don't say those things. So she's very like worrisome like mother. Button up your jacket. It's always got buttoning up the jacket. Then you get sick. That's why you got to button up your jacket. So I see this woman there. And she's kind of coming off guard, and she had some kids with her. And I said, Auntie, what brings you out to this protest? And she goes, I wanted to show my grandkids what democracy looks like. I wanted to show them what real love looks like. And those are the things that I'm hopeful for, right? And you saw in this past election cycle, you saw what happened in Virginia and all these like cool changes. Charlottesville was this disgusting rally a few months ago, all this neo-Nazis and hate. And now the lieutenant governor of Virginia is black. Like, it's awesome. Like, things, that's a surface change, but like things are happening. You're seeing transgender people taking office. People have been persecuted for years. And in New Jersey, in Hoboken, New Jersey, there was this man, he was Sikh, a Sikh person, had the turban and the beard, and his opponent was sending these smear campaigns saying like, take him out of the country and make America great again and all this like horrible stuff. And he got elected. He is now the mayor of Hoboken, New Jersey, which is like predominantly like Italian, community, and now like a Sikh is mayor. And these are big deals, right? This is not just like a token thing. And so I take comfort in the fact that I don't feel like I'm the only one that has the same frustration. You're seeing things starting to happen that, we all have a voice. We all can do something about it, whether it's running for office or just voicing our opinion about all these issues. So it's really cool to see all these things happening. So I'm very hopeful about these things.
Yes.
So actually, going to be writing a short reflection paper about this for project in my SNL.
Okay, ask away.
Yeah, I'd like for Bruce to use your blog for reference and
Sure.
the pictures I find in the blog. Is it all right to use this as reference?
Yeah, that's fine. Just don't sell it, and we're good.
All right.
Yeah, no problem. Yes.
You've been visiting mosques around the world.
You know what? We had oh, by the way, so the cool thing about our project, we had this foundation that agreed to finance the entire project. And I can't afford like a rental car for a month and all these hotels and this and that. And then literally at the last minute, this foundation pulled their money away. They changed their mind. And so like, dude, what do we do? Like, we're broke. I don't have this money. Like, how are we gonna do this? And I literally went on Facebook and I went on Twitter. I was like, guys, we need about $8,000 in a couple days. If 800 of you can give us $10, we'll raise the amount. We've raised in like an hour and a half. And that's really what the success behind our project was not me and my friend. It was the 1.7 million unique visitors that came to our website every single day. We're getting more traffic than CNN.com and all these other like news sites. And that's what the success behind it was not us. And so yeah, afterwards people were like, yo, 30 countries, dude, I got you. There are people like, I run a private plane company. I will finance your trip. I will fly you guys. A couple agents, the State Department was like, hey, we can secure your visas and access. Like, you guys want this? We can help you, blah, blah. And then I thought about it and I was like, I don't want this to become like a gimmick where it's like, oh yeah, now we're going to 30 countries. Now we're going to go to 30 planets and hang out with Somalis on Neptune and this and that. Like, I didn't want to become a gimmick. It was really about the stories and telling stories about the community, because the challenge is, one of the biggest challenges, and we're in every state just for a day, how do you tell the story of Muslims in Pennsylvania in one day? Even the story of Muslims in Philly in one day. There's so much history and stories to be told. We couldn't even do that in a country. So we went away from that model. We didn't want it to become like a gimmick. And we didn't want it to be like, you know, just repetitive. And so we kind of stripped that away and tried to do something different creatively, putting out these films and other short stories we can build. So. Any other questions? Cool. Well, I appreciate y'all coming. Thank you.